talk about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 758, The Nun, Too Much.
The Nun.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I had fallen asleep just from
no.
you mentioning the title of this
I feel
movie.
like last time I was here, we did this. This is the same reaction.
I tell you what, the Dracula movie feels like Mission Impossible compared to this one, guys.
So I guess let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. Before we dig in, shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, TuneIn, and wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. It's super helpful. It's good for our egos, which could use it.
Big time.
And
right now, you ain't lying.
And what else? Oh, and it's helpful for the people that come along after you. So you can also find us on YouTube, where you can watch us now in color.
Technicolor.
Yes.
3D. Put on the blue and red glasses. You're good to go.
And we are on Facebook, facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. We've titled the group The League of Show Sharers because we're hoping you will be kind enough to share an episode so more people will listen.
Marketing geniuses.
Yes, people who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Tom Dowdy, Jason McLean, Travis Tewitt, Tammy Lynn Powers, Betts, Julianne Jordan, Chris Magic Man, Chris Falls, Phil Timon, Gabriel Lugo, Ralph Tribble, Dissect That Film, Greg Sumners, Taylor Ward, Heather Sachs, Christopher Rex, Nostalgia Cast, Mike and Oscar, Spoiler Piece Theater, Ronnie Castle, In Session Film, Colby Mack, Geek to Me Radio, Feel and Film, Binge Movies, and Ryan Terry. So thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. And finally, don't forget we do have a Patreon where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra.
There's more. What do we have left? Captain America and the Avengers?
Let's see. Next one up is
Captain
Iron Man
America.
2 is
Oh,
coming
we
out.
did that one, though.
It's in the can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, no.
No, so yeah, whatever the rest of those
I think
phase after Iron Man
Captain
2.
America and the Avengers, and then we're done. That
Okay.
only took us 7
Thor.
months.
We haven't done Thor yet. Did we? And I
think
forgot.
we did.
No, I think we kept saying we were going to and just never did it.
Well, things have come up.
Yeah. So Thor is a coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, hey, now that's a different movie altogether.
Hey.
Goodness. Yeah.
Well, donate those bucks.
Ragnarok your
we can
world.
get Joe a blonde wig.
I
It's
thought
fine.
you said donate those fuckers, and I was like, nope, that makes sense for that movie.
Yeah. So anyway, there's all that. Let's stick it.
Okay.
Shall we?
So, every studio has tried the Marvel model, right?
Right.
They've all tried it.
The
And
NUN cinematic universe.
yeah, well, this is The Conjuring.
Right.
And I will say,
This is the one that's probably gotten closest
That's
to
what
success.
you're
mean,
exactly right.
they're making money, even though, except for the first 2 Conjuring movies, they've all been trash.
have they? No,
I thought the first Nun was decent, and I hadn't seen the other ones. Movie,
we did Annabelle.
We've done the Annabelle
The
movies.
Annabelle creation one is really
I wasn't
good.
here.
I wouldn't go that far. It was better than the first one.
I wasn't here at least for 1 or 2 of those Annabelle movies.
Yeah.
The third one's not very good.
But we watched The Nun, and I was like, okay, this was decent. Like, I was fine with it. I'm like, okay, they got something with this spinoff. It's decent. This movie is so boring.
I thought it was fun. Here's the thing.
They're trying to turn them into, like, detectives.
Okay.
Nun detectives.
Well,
this is like Nundercover.
But we see that all the time, right? Like
Nun's fun.
Nun fun, yeah.
Yeah.
I did get a trailer for Nuns on the Run, which I was like, oh, man,
I didn't see it there. I
need to
didn't
go
have
back.
time
I need
to-
to go back and rewatch that movie with Robbie Coltrane.
I
and
just
Eric
think
Idle, I think.
it just feels a little preposterous. Okay?
So, but the priest in The Exorcist
This movie wanted to be The Exorcist so bad.
This movie wanted to be The Exorcist 3 so bad.
The look of it.
Yes.
It just, they kept doing the grainy, like poorly lit cobblestone streets.
Which
like
I
it
gotta
just
tell you,
rained.
I thought this movie looked great. I thought this movie had some of like that scene where Taissa Farmiga's on the train, and I was like, okay, this feels like.
I like the magazine scene.
I think that's very good.
I like the idea of the magazine, but every magazine wouldn't have a large portrait of a person on the right page.
It's possessed.
I was like,
okay, but the pages don't change because they're possessed.
How long are these magazines?
there was at
It's-
one point where I was like,
That's
okay, I can accept that this is a demon flipping these pages.
Just like a Sears catalog circa 1978.
The magazine thing is the coolest thing in the entire movie, the coolest concept. But every right page had a portrait of someone. You wouldn't have that many. And I mean, okay, maybe
I want
they
you to go
skipped a
back.
couple,
I want
but
you to go back to 1956 and find all the magazines.
I have a lot of old magazines, and not every right portrait. And guess what? All the magazines on the right, every page on the left had a portrait of someone. I mean, it was stupid the way that it all lined up too perfectly. I'm like, you could have made a better collage with that same concept, but not made it so like picture. It just
when you look at the creators of these movies, right? We start with James Wan and Lee Winnell. I think Gary Doberman comes in and does some of the. I almost think. Oh no, Mike Flanagan did the Ouija sequel. That was really good.
I don't think I saw it.
I
don't think I've seen either of those movies.
The first one's not great, but then they come back with
covered one because I think Dan was on the episode.
They come back with because I
remember doing Oculus.
Yeah, which is also Mike Flanagan.
Okay, that was solid.
Yeah.
We've done 756 of these guys. It's really hard sometimes to remember.
Like the first Nun, which I went back and rewatched because I was like, I don't remember.
Was
for
that guy
punishment?
in the first movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which guy?
The
Frenchie.
guy that she's like, you saved me, and there's flashbacks.
Yeah.
Frenchie?
Frenchie's like a main character.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the main character in the first one.
I mean,
And she's not wrong. Like she at the end of that movie, Taissa Farmiga, who it's like, can we just say that she's
The biggest wasted opportunity.
not only does she look just like her sister,
She looks just like her, and the timeline
lines up
perfectly for this to be an origin story. Like, why are we not doing that?
Or why are we casting her? Like I think Taissa Farmiga is great. I think she's great in American Horror Story. I think she was really good in. There was like a meta slasher flick where her mom was like a final girl and she goes into the movie to.
Was it Final Girls?
It was Final Girls. Yeah, you're right.
dang.
With Malin Ackerman. But I think that she is.
This should be
the Mary Warren,
especially because you
origin
know that the Mary Warren character was a nun or was gonna be a nun, and
Yeah.
so it's like this would fit perfectly to butt up against The Conjuring.
What a
What
missed
are we
opportunity
doing here?
Why?
Yeah.
What?
Which is where I thought we were going in the first one.
Same. I really thought that last scene was gonna be like,
I'm out of here now.
I'm out of here.
gonna-
I'm changing
yeah.
my name to Mary. Right.
Right.
And they just I am so flummoxed by the fact that they have this wonderful opportunity where, she, like I said, she looks
Just like her.
Yep.
and she's a good actress.
Yep.
So like
She's significantly better in this than I think she was in the first one.
I thought she was good in the first one.
I thought she was fine in the first
Yeah,
one, but
but
she felt more
yeah.
not invested, but like into the character.
Yeah.
Because this character is different.
This movie felt very long. How long was this movie? Almost 2
An
hours.
hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah,
It
so
felt- I
almost,
agree with you.
Almost 2 hour movie.
Because
They-
almost every scene is this. Oh, scary music, tension build,
Is
jump
there
scare.
none?
Here's the jump scare of the nun, and then nothing happens.
Okay, so here's
two people die in this movie.
Yes, this is the problem.
Both
overall
Both of them could have been old age.
I gotta tell you though,
I-
that first one I was like, oh, they just killed a kid. Like that doesn't happen often.
the first one was the priest burning.
Oh
priest
no, you're
burns.
right.
They
The
didn't
second
kill
one,
the
the kid was
Yes,
there.
no, they killed that girl that went to go see Frenchie when she's dropping off like the delivery.
Did they take her out?
Oh yeah,
Oh, but she wasn't like kid.
you don't that. I will say you don't see that very
Yeah.
often. So when they
We
do,
just saw it 2 weeks ago.
that's true. And and Halloween ends as well when they smash that kid in the floor.
I've tried to block that movie out.
Not me. I will say when they kill a kid, that gives you a level of Anything's
But
possible.
they kill the two people in the beginning of the movie, and they kill one person at the end of the
No,
movie.
no, no, they
and
kill-
there's an hour and a half of them going like this: run, 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 scary. Okay, run, 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 run. You're knocked out. Run, 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 run. Scary. Run. It's like, okay, the nun breaks necks, stabs people, kills people. Here's our main characters. Boo! Ah! You're knocked out. Okay, here. I'm going to surround you in a prison of spikes.
Yeah.
Why is the nun not just killing people?
I don't know.
She kills people when she wants in the beginning, but when your main characters come,
At least hit their knuckles with a ruler.
yeah.
It's 1956.
I've been there, and that was in the 80s.
But the plot armor,
I will say, I think that there is... Okay, so the premise of this movie is we see at the end of the first one that Taissa Farmiga and also this priest who gets a worse kill-off screen than Mutt from Indiana Jones, where he's just like, he had cholera, he's dead.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
So they think they vanquished Valak, who is this demon that we see in The Conjuring 1 and 2, I think.
I still don't think I've ever seen those movies.
That's
honestly.
insane to
I
me.
just
2.
well, these aren't helping its case.
No, the first two
Yeah.
are great.
Yes.
Are totally worth your time. They are so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And you know I don't like
I've
these
heard
kinds of
they're really
movies.
good.
They are so good. Of all the movies in this franchise, I actually own on Vudu
Yeah.
Conjuring 1 and 2. The
They're
rest of them I don't care about.
It's tough because 2... They're picking these cases from the Warrens, who
Are hucksters.
scumbags.
they're also pieces of
Yeah.
like Ed Warren is the worst of the worst.
It's
And
too
you
bad they're tied to these people because
because Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are so damn good,
Right.
and
I know, it
likable.
just
Which is
sucks
another reason to make this an origin story about her that has no basis in reality.
Sure.
Of just like
These are just characters.
they're just characters now.
Yeah.
Like right.
they're basically like P.T. Barnum and Greatest
Yeah.
Showman. I mean, you don't go to that movie and they're not going to be like, yeah, and then P.T. Barnum
You know what I
did
heard?
all this stuff. They're like, no, this is like a caricature with the same name. It's
You know what I
not.
heard when you said that?
What's that?
Wah 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 wah. Because I was like, The Greatest Showman. I didn't see that.
But
was really
this,
good.
but this movie, there is so little going on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. So I'm in the theater. I had to go to AMC because Alamo was a different time or whatever. Okay, someone snoring on my left, someone snoring on my right. I went, mind you, 11:45 show
That's
in the AM.
tough.
Snoring on my left, snoring on my right. I dozed off 2 or 3 times. I mean, this is the biggest snooze fest of a movie.
It's tough because I don't think it's a snooze fest. But I'm also invested in this series for the most part. It's almost like I refer to it as like Supernatural, right? Like those first 4 or 5 seasons of Supernatural are really good. They've got a story. They've
Yeah.
got, it's everybody's engaged. By the time you get to season, I don't know, whatever, 15, you're like, yeah, man, I just want to see how this ends.
It's just
like,
something to watch.
I just want to see how I'm invested in these characters. I just want to see how this ends.
I
And
wish I
that's-
cared. I could not wait till this ended. I was sitting there the entire time, like, please just end this movie. Like, this was torture to sit through. For
That's
me.
crazy.
I
didn't think it
couldn't
was-
find any entertainment in it. You know,
I thought the jump scares were well done. I think the scene.
Really?
I do. I think that scene.
There were a couple good jump scares, but it was like only jump scares. It was a jump scare delivery.
Was it the nun with sharp teeth?
Yes,
Was
it
that the okay?
But that's what she looks like.
Saw that about 8 times. Yeah. But after the first couple, I was like, I get it. Nun gonna pop up and she's gonna show you her sharp teeth. Cool.
No, I think the scene with the headmistress in the chapel, with her demon son.
You know how you know she's the headmistress, right?
No.
He has dirty knees.
Oh, look at
You walked right into that.
I did. Yeah.
I laughed when the kid flung his lantern.
Hit her
like
with the urn.
I mean, I don't know.
But I do think like when she's flashing that light, you know what they're trying to do,
Right.
But like, they play with the shadows really well. I think that scene with Sophie on the steps when she comes face to face with the nun and like the lights come on and it's just like a like
On
a
the wall.
like a grease painting.
It's a cool look,
I think
yeah.
it's a cool. But they do
I liked when they had the girl in the place where Batman fought Joker. I like that.
You like that one in the bell tower?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of ends the same way.
And then the nun said, "You wouldn't hit a nun with glasses,
Would you? And then when the nun dies, she's got like that little laughing thing. And then-
Ha ha ha! Oh, can we just talk about Batman, please?
Happily, yeah. So the this nun character shows up in Conjuring 1 and 2, and then they spin her off. We get the origin.
Can I tell you guys, I thought that every scene that went to Frenchie and the teacher and the daughter was a flashback. I did not know these were in the same timeline.
What?
When they got together, I said, what the? I could not follow this. I thought they were flashing back between how the nun came to be, because they kept talking about the history of the nun. I thought we were watching the nun first be a spooky nun.
You thought the mom
and we were
was gonna
going
be
to
the nun?
our nun, Taissa Farmiga.
Okay.
And then when they got together, I'm like, I thought that was a twist.
In the first movie, she ends up having to go with this priest to this cathedral.
You know, early in the movie where all the nuns are sitting around like peeling potatoes or whatever, and the nuns telling the story. That's the recap of the first movie.
Yes.
Okay, because
So-
and I thought that was and then we cut to Frenchie and all that stuff. I thought they were showing us.
Yeah.
Like
No.
that was just how I took that was.
So-
Here's the flat. Here I'm telling you, and then whoo, it's olden days.
Well, it's also
and-
like it's much. It visually looks different, right?
Yeah,
Like
that first one is very-
it felt like two different
because
yeah.
it's very bright when you get to the Frenchie scene.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. It's just this movie felt very weird. And
But yes, so in the first one, the priest and the nun go to this convent. I think it's what it was. And we find out that there was someone that tried to unearth this demon
The bombing in World War II had released this demon that had been locked up,
by these
that had been
nuns
trapped.
who just pray.
and then the
constantly.
nuns would, to keep her at bay, were praying on 24-hour shifts,
Correct.
nonstop, to
And-
keep her trapped.
And then the nun starts to break free. We find out that the only thing that will stop the nun, Valak is the demon's name, is the blood of Christ.
Is a vial of the blood of
And
Christ.
I gotta tell you, it's a fun scene in the first movie where Taissa Farmiga like cracks open the vial, drinks the blood, and as Valak has like Taissa Farmiga dead to rights, she spits the blood into her face, and I was like, that was pretty dope. Like that was cool.
And normally you're not a fan of spitting.
No, not at all.
More of a swallowing kind
yeah,
of guy.
well, if you're gonna do the job, do it right.
Right.
Yeah.
And have some respect for the blood of Christ.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the never mind.
Let's see how more offensive we can make this.
But in that process, Frenchie is attacked by Valak, and Valak possesses Frenchie. The end of the Nun 1 is we get that recap that goes back to the first Conjuring, which is the first time we see Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they are performing an exorcism on Frenchie. And I think that first one, that ending, I was like, that's crazy that they figured that out.
Yeah.
And went back and reworked that into like that's the ending scene. Well, not really sure how that ending scene works now.
Right.
Because
Like,
you
They
see us-
screwed themselves.
You see them killing
yeah.
the
demon.
the demon, and presumably Frenchie has been exorcised.
Correct. Unless we're saying that he hasn't, but then what? Like, why would you? This poor guy. Has
But if
been
you kill the demon,
exorcised
then
twice.
what is in him?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or then what's the thing? Because like in The Conjuring 2, I'm pretty sure that like Mary Warren has like visions of Valak killing Ed, but then it's like if it's gone, why do I care?
Well,
Right.
it's not gone.
But if it's
a
not
horror franchise.
but,
It's
no,
never
but,
gone.
But
It's
never
the
gone.
the catalyst of Valak attaching itself to the Warrens is the exorcism of Frenchie.
Oh, so
But
if they
if
changed
if Frenchie's not able to be exorcised,
yeah,
what? Why?
who knows?
Like, because I think the ending of that first one is perfect. Because you're
Yeah.
like, okay, full circle. We're right
Right.
back to where we were.
so there's more nun and priest killings, and they enlist Taissa Farmiga.
Yeah,
And-
basically there's a line that's going like from Romania across, and they're like, this is where it starts, and they're
I thought it was Dracula coming over on a boat.
Oh yeah, it is funny that like Romania, all bad, all demons and
Can you
vampires come
imagine
from
living
Romania.
there and it's just this beautiful, pleasant. It's probably just the gorgeous little nice.
like-
Romanians are like, what the hell, man?
Right, what do we do to you?
Yeah.
Our culture is just,
Our culture's not just vampires.
Our
and
culture
demons.
is not your costume.
yeah. They're sitting there in just these lovely little quaint towns. Probably looks like something from The Hobbit.
Right,
and-
right. I like detective horror stories. I think those are a lot of fun because they're rare to get one of the like.
I do too,
Exorcist-
but what makes these nuns detectives? I like detective stories, but when you throw in these kids haven't been around that long, you get the girl, I guess she was in Missing, I didn't see that, but that's the girl.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's-
she's on Last of Us.
Yeah.
Who is she in The Last of Us?
She's the girl that she falls in love with.
Yeah, she's Ellie's girlfriend. Right?
Oh, in that one flashback. I got
Yeah,
you. I got you. Yes. I knew she looked familiar and I couldn't. Okay.
Yeah.
And she's good in this movie, but I just mean, so you have that, she's kind of like this rebellious nun who's not playing by the rules and stuff. And it's just, they get together and then they start solving these detective mysteries.
Well,
and
I think,
I'm just
okay.
like,
But Father Mirren is the same character. Father Mirren is in The Exorcist. He's basically a detective who's also an exorcist. So, and
I guess it just feels like when you've been
George-
established for a while and you've been doing it, okay, I get that character. But when these nuns show up and then they start talking like they're in Seven, you know what I mean? It just, I don't know.
But Taissa Farmiga has done this. She was it. She fought this demon.
But the other girl is
That's
talking
fair.
about clues and stuff. I'm saying the way the other nun is talking, she starts rattling off these things about, oh, and this is like this, and I'm just like, why? How is she a detective? I don't know.
My favorite
she's
part
like,
is when
she's like Watson.
when they decide they need the eyes of Saint Lucy, and it's like
That to me, that was the jump too far.
it was like the eyes of Saint Lucy have been missing lo these years. The demon has been searching for them for 3 millennia, and they can't be found. And this is here they are.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we looked through the
They
goat.
just happened to-
we looked through the goat eye and figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree.
We just
That,
need the staff of Ra.
that's right. That is ridiculous. Like, these movies haven't really dealt with the idea of
Logic.
logic, but also relics, right? They've depended on the rites of exorcism and things like that. There hasn't been crosses, which doesn't really count. But when you start going after the eyes of Saint Lucy, who had her eyes plucked out for some reason, I don't know.
Because she kept pulling the football away.
Was that Lucy?
Yeah.
That is Lucy. Yeah, right on.
She offered substandard psychiatric care, but for surprisingly reasonable rates.
Yeah, 25 cents, right?
That's 5 cents.
Oh, okay.
But there's
25 cents
nothing
now.
wrong with the concept of these movies. And I even thought the Nun one, I don't remember the plot points and the characters, but I remember watching and being like, oh, that was decent. Like, go back and listen to that episode. I thought it was decent. But the script of this exact movie, not the concept, the script.
It would be nice if it was written by someone who understood Catholicism.
That is fair.
Like they clearly don't know anything about Catholicism. Like,
That's a good point.
because there's one scene where she's like getting attacked by the nun and she's praying at it, and
Okay.
she says, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. No Catholic in 1956
Absolutely not.
would say Holy Spirit.
Holy
Ghost?
Ghost.
Holy Ghost.
Holy
I know
Ghost.
that, and I've never
Holy
had anything.
Spirit doesn't kick in until Vatican II.
Is that right?
In the 60s, yes.
Okay.
And so, like, nobody would have said Holy Spirit in 1956.
That's true.
The other Catholic problem this movie has is the ending of the film would not work.
Why is that?
So
Okay.
the ending of
So-
we'll just get right to the ending.
Yeah.
They get to the ending of the film.
I thought the
and
ending
so
was kind of smart, but I'd like
it's smart, except it's dumb. So the idea is they need the blood of Christ to kill the demon.
And they
right?
said they were looking for this relic, this blood of Christ.
Right,
Like,
but she had used it up in the last
Yeah.
one, and you know this isn't 1985, Marty. You can't just walk into any grocery store and
get
buy the blood
Buy
of
the
Christ.
blood of Christ.
And
so
so,
if you could just make your own blood of Christ, that
Right.
would have been a pretty
But that's the
solution.
thing.
so when you're receiving the Eucharist, I went to Catholic school, so
The cracker.
yeah.
Okay.
it's a wafer.
It's a
Yes.
wafer.
Okay.
They're not Protestants.
It's wafer thin.
It's a wafer.
Okay.
When you're receiving, so that is the body of the Christ. The blood is the wine is the blood of Christ, right? And so
Transmography.
And I like
They're-
that
they're-
conversation where she's like,
Right.
just a guy blessing wine or what. Like, I really liked the.
although if she's Catholic and a nun, she should already know this.
Correct.
This is pretty 101. But so when it comes to blessing communion, wafers, and wine, there are two schools of thought. There is consubstantiation and transubstantiation. Now, perhaps counterintuitively in this situation, the Catholics are trans.
and then you genuflect.
Correct. And so consubstantiation means that you're blessing this stuff and it's a metaphor, right? Transubstantiation
It becomes.
means it's literally the body and blood of Christ. The Catholics believe if you put it under a microscope, it would have the same molecular makeup as the body and blood
Do you
of Christ.
think that Catholics in 2023 still believe that?
I don't think Catholics ever truly believed it, but
Oh,
that's
I
where
think-
it comes in the whole idea. Oh, it's faith. And
Right. You got to have faith.
And so, when they're fighting the nun, the demon at the end of the movie, and they have all this wine around, and she's like, "Oh, we'll bless the wine," and she says the same thing that the priest says at Mass,
does.
which is, the whole this is
spiel.
my body, take and eat of it, blah, the blood of the new and everlasting covenant, blah, blah, blah. That's what the priest says to consecrate it, which is the moment, it's when they ring the bells, that's the moment that it becomes the body and blood of Christ.
Right.
So here's the problem. Only a priest can do that.
Yeah, that's
Only a priest can do
So
that.
she has no
So,
ability
in
to
the
do
in the
that.
Catholic Church.
Yeah.
She has no power to
Right.
make that.
She
the
just
blood of
anyone
Christ.
could go around doing that.
Right.
I mean,
Like, she does not have the capability to do that. Now, you can zoom out and say, well, this is all just BS. But if you're
following the rules.
if you're working using the paradigm
Right.
of Catholicism for the rules and underpinning of your film, then and you're going to say that this is the blood of Christ when we do this thing and it becomes the blood of Christ, well, then the rules within that church are, but only when a priest does it.
What they should have done
Was figured out a way to get a
make-
priest
no,
in
no,
that
no.
scene.
What they should have done is
upgraded her.
that's it. When
Can
the-
women be priests, or is that
No,
against the rules?
No. Oh,
So I mean,
way.
that's what I'm saying. So like, then I guess you
Well,
couldn't.
no.
really-
What they could have done is when she goes to see Monsignor, whatever the hell his name is.
library guy. Or
No, the priest that, or the guy with like the different getup that's eating food. That's like,
Oh,
hey man,
that
you gotta go
okay.
to this other
Yeah, yeah,
place. What should have happened there is he should have said, because of your experience, because of what you've done, you are.
No.
but that wouldn't have worked in the. It would
No,
have,
the
I think-
Catholic Church, he doesn't have the authority to say that. The Catholic Church is
You don't think he could?
No.
Okay.
The Catholic Church is very hierarchy.
That's true.
Hierarchical, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a hierarchy.
Right.
And so, like, he doesn't have that power. Like, that's the whole point
That would
of
have
the-
to come from the Vatican. I
That's
guess.
the whole point of a pope, right? Is that
Yeah.
the pope, when the pope speaks, I forget how they say it in Latin, but it means from the chair. And if the pope said
infallible?
he's infallible, and a lot of people that don't understand the rules of Catholicism thinks that when people say the Pope is infallible, it means that he's just wandering around. He's infallible in whatever he does. No, it's like when he makes a point and he makes a declaration in this certain way at a certain time. If he says it, then it's true, and
it's from the mouth, the word of God.
right. And basically, the way I've always interpreted, had explained to me, is that if the Pope says gay marriage is okay, and the Pope is wrong, when you get to heaven, God ain't gonna be mad at you.
That's right.
Right. That's gonna all fall to him.
It's like, hey man, your boy down there said it was cool.
Your guy said it was okay. We put this guy in charge.
Right.
If that guy's wrong, you're not in trouble
Well,
for
we
him.
didn't put anybody in charge. They're just like,
Well, yeah.
you're good.
Yeah, it's not like you get to vote.
Yeah,
But-
right.
So, like, no, he wouldn't have the ability to
But-
make
okay.
a female priest.
That's fair. But if they could say, again, this is us writing their movie for him. This is from the Vatican. This is directly from the Vatican because of your. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
it could have, but I'm saying
there just should be something in there if they're going to have it end like that.
I
There
agree.
has to be an explanation.
I thought the same thing when she was blessing the wine.
because I thought it was
like,
such a big deal. They're like, oh, it has to be. We have to find the blood of Christ. Like that's our MacGuffin chase.
I like
and
the
then let's make
solution
it.
I do
because
too.
from get-go, I was like, well, consecrate some wine. You got the blood of Christ, right? If you're Catholic.
you got
So
a
if this is
you got a bomb. You got a bunch of dragon fire down in the bowels.
Yeah.
of
yeah,
this
like
place.
if we're living in the world of Catholic rules in this movie, I'm like, well, there's your solution. So like, I was fine with that as a solution, but then the way to solve it is you just make one of the people in the scene a priest,
Or you bring back the guy from the first one.
right? Something.
Instead of he got cholera,
You got cholera and died
Yeah.
off screen. He's dead.
he went back to his home planet.
Goodbye.
Now, maybe that's why Frenchie is still possessed and Valak is still around. But then why did it go away? Why did it look like it destroyed it? You know,
Oh wait, in the first one.
in this one,
Oh.
when they hit it with the wine,
Oh sure.
you know,
Yeah.
like maybe that's why it's still around, right? They're going to come back and say, Well, because silly girls can't do
and
that.
And that demon was too dumb to realize that it wasn't the blood of Christ, so it disintegrated itself anyway.
That demon, instead of just killing all the people trying to destroy it, trapped them in little spiky prisons.
So so we find out that Taissa Farmiga's character is a descendant of Saint Lucy. Like, that's what they're getting at. And that Valak was going across Europe, I guess, killing the last remaining descendants of this saint so that the demon could find the eyes eventually.
So what was it doing at the magazine stand when it knocked her out?
It was, so since she is, you're not wrong.
I just gotta know why it didn't kill her like it kills everyone else when it
because we
wants to.
find out that he can't burn her. So maybe she's got like a little extra mutant power where Valak has to work extra hard to kill this nun. But I mean, like, that's what we find out, that Valak is going to burn Taissa Farmiga alive, and it can't. And that's a callback to St. Lucy, where they tried to burn St. Lucy and they couldn't do it.
But it chokes people and breaks their neck. I mean,
but those aren't descendants of St. Lucy.
I know, but why didn't it break her neck?
Because
it just gives up when it's like, oh, here's the person I got to kill, but this didn't work. I'm gonna go.
I'm a peace out.
I don't get it. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I just don't get it.
I don't think you're wrong.
I don't get what we're watching.
This is what happens when James Wan and Leigh Whannell start this thing, right? And they kind of pass the reins to Gary Doberman, who is...
So how does Lucy have children? How does she have descendants if she's a saint?
Could she have a brother?
But they wouldn't be descendants.
Sure they would. They'd be descendants.
Descendant is your offspring and people from your offspring.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah. Like, that's not how saints work.
That's a good call.
Right. And I was just like, well, maybe she's... So I looked it up. I was like, well, maybe she's an early saint that, like, got
circumvented the rule.
Well, sometimes you have people that, like, they didn't lead great lives, so then they came to God, and, you know.
Yeah.
But it says, like, this is from Wikipedia, which we know is never wrong. Like many of the early martyrs, Lucy had consecrated her virginity to God.
So she was a virgin.
And she hoped to distribute her dowry to the poor.
So if you're a descendant, it can't be from, like, her bloodline.
Well, she wouldn't have a bloodline because she didn't.
Her, like, parents, brother. Like, I mean,
a descendant is someone who descends from you.
Yeah, I guess it was her actual descendant. Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, I guess they say it's
like my sister's
kids
kids aren't my descendants.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not from Alabama.
But I don't know, because, like, but they're a descendant of your father, and then you're a descendant of your like. I just don't know.
But that logic, we're all related.
But they do say that these are descendants of St. Lucy. They're not like, this is the descendant of St. Lucy's brother.
The action of moving forward, downward, dropping, or falling, like moving forward, like that's You know.
I don't know. But this is what I'm saying: is James Wan. I'm pretty sure that Leigh Whannell was involved.
I think they just really, really stretched this 2-hour movie to do anything. And I know I'm not trying to say
no. I don't think you're wrong.
Enjoyment. I just, from my point of view, there was not a lot going on in this movie, and I just think that they stretched this idea to get a sequel to a successful horror spinoff. And I wish that they would have written it in an interesting way where stuff actually happened and stuff made sense. Where I wasn't watching it going like, why didn't just kill her?
Because especially because there are ways to make this make sense.
Certainly,
it's like
right.
like logic adjacent.
Yeah, it's like,
well, this is almost
like they
sense.
didn't try to do another draft where someone was like, well, maybe we should explain this or that. Like,
this is what I mean when I say what Marvel did. Right, we talked about it a billion times. Is they moneyballed it, and they got guys or gals who were probably on the decline or like middling. And they plugged them into their movies. You know, the guy that, let's get the fast talking guy. Let's get the Shakespeare guy. Let's get the World War II guy, you know, where I think the Conjuring stuff kind of did it backwards. So they got top tier guys to work on these movies to begin with. And now they've started to like filter it down to like a guy that maybe has the sound of James Wan a little bit.
Yeah, and it just keeps getting worse.
Who is Michael Chaves? Do we know what
he directed? The
Curse of La Llorona.
Okay, so he directed that, and he directed The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It,
and that's a bad one.
Which is a bad one,
and this is a bad one.
Yeah,
and so was La Llorona.
La Llorona was. I wouldn't call it bad, but it was definitely middling.
Yeah,
he did direct HGTV's Selling LA promo campaign in 2011.
Good.
I mean, we're all still a buzz about that.
And I think Gary Doberman did a few of the Annabelle ones. He did. There's so many of these in this world now, but they started with the All-Star
He
Squad.
directed a Billie Eilish video.
Hey, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, it's no David Fincher, but I'll allow it.
Yeah.
But they started with an All-Star team, and they have
Handed it off.
This is what happens. They started with the All-Star team. They won the championship, and those All-Stars got more money to go other places. So they're
Right.
trying to find guys to plug in. And Gary Doberman, I think, is a very accomplished and
who's
good.
he? He's the writer of this?
No.
Who is that?
Gary Doberman did the Annabelle movies, I think, and some other stuff.
But he's like the showrunner of this? Or like, who is that? What are we talking about?
So he is the other guy that kind of like took over the Conjuring stuff after James Wan.
He has a based on characters created by credit in this movie.
Yeah. So I think he created the Nun.
Okay.
Or Taissa Farmiga's character.
I just don't follow this franchise. So when you say that name, I'm like, I don't know what he does.
Yeah,
You know?
he's involved.
Okay.
He was like James Wan's understudy, basically.
Okay.
As a filmmaker.
Does he do anything else besides these Conjurings that you know?
I thought he got picked up to do something else, like that
Salem's Lot.
That's what
is
it was.
It's completed. Okay.
And I am terrified for that because I love that.
Executive producer, writer on It Chapter 2.
Okay.
Annabelle Comes Home director.
Which is the good one. No, that's the bad one.
Director of this guy, Doberman.
Yeah.
Then he's got producer on La Lorna, producer, writer on The Nun, the first one.
There we go.
Writer, It. So is he Andy Machete guy? Or is he a Fukunawa guy?
That's a good question. Because didn't Fukunawa write his own scripts?
He was, no, I mean, I think it's the script. I think he wrote it and he kept most of it. Annabelle Creation writer. Annabelle writer.
Annabelle Creation
So
is
he's
the good one.
Okay, an Annabelle writer. So
Yeah.
he started.
He's a James Wan guy.
Okay.
He's been around this Conjuring franchise forever.
Sans Annabelle. Okay.
Yeah.
But they keep handing it off to people. They're starting strong and they're handing it off, and now this guy can do it, and this guy can do it. It's
like multiplicity when you make a copy of a copy.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to. I don't know about this guy. I don't know anything about him, but I mean, just based on what I've seen in this, it's just. It sounds like the Conjuring movies are really good, and now I'm watching these
1 and 2,
and we're talking about all these plot holes and how one, I think it's super boring because they're not writing them interestingly, but two, you have all these scenes that don't make sense, and
Right.
like we're talking about monsters and demons. We've seen it done really well. It's
Right.
not like you're saying, like,
Do you
oh, it's
remember-
just demons.
Remember
Like,
in the Annabelle Comes Home when like a werewolf shows up and we're like, what the hell is going on in this movie?
Totally
do
forgot.
not
A
remember.
werewolf shows up in that movie.
I don't think I've
and
seen
it's
that
like,
one.
this is Jump the Shark. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing.
I just think maybe there should have been some more killing. I think if the nun
The
can't
fact
just
that this is
keep-
rated R
Boo.
is insane.
What is
to
it rated
me.
R for? Boo.
Why?
Boo. It just all it does.
This is
boo.
a PG-13 movie
Yeah.
that could have made so much more money.
I can't believe it's rated R. I just cannot even.
I don't see. I mean, maybe because they kill a kid. I don't know.
I mean, cut it back a little and make it 13,
Yeah,
or
like-
make it R.
Yeah.
I don't know what
You
they're-
could have made this PG-13 so easily.
Easily.
Like, I don't know why.
I
cut
would
out-
have. If
cut
you
out
asked
15
me,
minutes.
if you asked me, I would have never been like,
I had
oh,
to
yeah,
look
this
it up,
This is
'cause-
R.
yeah.
There's no cussing. There's no a zombie kid. Like, there's nothing here that would warrant besides like blood splatter. But that's. I mean, that's
Maybe
make it
Patrick
black.
Wilson is too sexy on the mid-credit scene. You think that could be
Hey.
the R?
Oh, was
could
there a
be.
mid-credit scene?
Sort of. It's
I bailed.
it's so dumb.
It was It was the dumbest 1 second thing of the Warrens being like, "Hey, let's get to it." It was just
They got a phone call at the house, but I was like,
It was just so dumb.
when is that from? Like, are we saying that they're going to go fight Valak again? Or
No, it was just such a tease for Conjuring 4. It was just like
I don't know if
they're
there's
back.
going to be a Conjuring 4.
Well, you think they're setting the
I
Warrens
thought
up to
that was a
not-
prequel, because in the Conjuring, the end of that movie is they get a phone call
Spoilers.
and they're and they're like, oh, we got to get to Amity because there's a
I remember you
family
saying
that needs
that,
our help in Amity.
Yeah.
Right, did they go? Is there a shark killing people? Isn't that Amity?
That's
No, Amity is where
Amity.
Jaws takes place.
That's why I just-
Amityville.
I know. That's what I just said. He said Amity.
Oh, I did say Amity.
And I said,
Yes,
is they
no,
going
you're
to
right,
find
yes.
the shark?
for Ghost Jaws. Yeah,
Yeah.
the ghost of Bruce.
That's why I was confused.
So do they get the rights to that?
No.
Because that's the problem that this
That's the
franchise
one.
has always has. Is
can't do it.
Their most famous case is the Amityville Horror, but they don't own the rights to
Nope.
it.
It's one of those things where like you
Yeah.
can hint around it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you can't, because there's a scene I think in the second one
When we
where
saw
they-
the house, I just thought like, oh, they must have gotten the rights back and they're
Right.
going to make
No.
one.
not the case.
Yeah.
No, they're in Amityville.
Amnesiaville. They're in Shelbyville. That's where they are.
So this basically bounces back and forth. So Taissa knew Frenchie from the first one, their connection. Then now Frenchie is working at a boarding
School. That was it was a monastery that a bombed out monastery.
Okay,
is
so
what
they
it was.
keep bouncing back and forth. And at the boarding school, you've got Frenchie, and he's really nice, and he has this like cute friendship with the daughter of one of the teachers. And then you can tell there's something kind of there between the teacher. And so it keeps bouncing back and forth with our nun, Taissa Farmiga,
working her way to the monastery
across the country and
To the
kind of trying to
boarding
get
school.
there. And then now stuff's going down at that boarding school,
Right.
and people are getting spooked by a nun. I can't say people are dying. I can say people are getting scared by a nun.
That is the problem with using when most of the people in your cast are children.
Yeah, and I'm
is
not
your-
saying I want to see that, but it's like,
there was one Friday the 13th, I think it was 6, where there's kids at the camp, and that had never happened before. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, they're gonna kill some of these kids. Like Jason's gonna tear these kids apart. But they just do it like, the kids run away or whatever.
Yeah,
but
counselors.
they have plenty of counselors.
okay, so how many adults did the nun kill at this school? Then?
So the nun killed at the school
It
the
kills
headmaster,
Yeah,
Kills
at
the
the end of
priest
the
at the
movie, yeah.
beginning, and then the headmaster.
and then the
was
kid that's delivering supplies. And
but
I
the
think
priest
that's it.
wasn't at that school, right?
No, the priest was in.
No, that
like-
was the opening.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
at that boarding school that the nun is
The
spooking
head-
people
the
for 2
headmaster.
hours, how many people did the nun kill at that school besides from the headmaster at the end of the movie?
It's actually funny that we're talking about Amityville Horror because this is kind of the same premise.
Yeah.
Where in that movie, whether it's James Brolin or Ryan Reynolds,
Is he related to
Josh Brolin? He is, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
yes.
okay, cool.
Whether it's those two characters, like when that character goes into the house in Amityville, something attaches onto him and makes him insane, right? Like he is the villain of those movies because
What was that movie that we watched with with Justin Long halfway through the movie?
Barbarian.
What a great movie! Like, give me something like that. Like, talk about writing and interesting characters, and then like stories changing to because this
That
bounces
movie's
back and forth and comes
Amazing.
together.
Who's
right?
the real
Like,
villain?
Yeah.
though? That's the
But
question.
like, God, we just think about stuff like that, and I know that's just it's another horror movie, not related between cast creatives. But when we talk about what a horror movie can be and how interesting, bringing two stories and people together, and it all coming together, and interesting twists and good acting, and things make sense. They're talking about, I just think like that's what's up. That's what I want to see in a horror movie.
I think, yes, I don't disagree. I think original horror is where it's at. Do I enjoy these kind of schlocky entries into this franchise? Yes. Like, am I going to go back and watch The Nun 2 again? Probably. Maybe. But it'll be on in the background while I'm doing something else. But I do agree with you. I think that there is a lot of really good under the table horror that has come out this year. I think because Barbarian was this year.
Was it the very beginning of the
I think-
year? Or
I
was
don't-
it?
think so.
No,
Or was it last year?
I think it was last year.
Beau is Afraid is.
I love Beau is Afraid.
I think that's horror
Barbarian
adjacent.
was last year.
Okay.
I still haven't seen Beau is Afraid.
It's
I don't
fine.
know that you'll like it,
It's-
honestly.
it
I
is
think
a-
you're going to think it's boring.
It is a little.
But it's-
what's the word? Indulgent is the
Well,
way I
it's
would-
it's very artsy and it's very
Yeah.
what's the
I
word?
liked his first two movies.
They're great.
I know, but it's not like that though. It's very much like he's writing a blank check. He's making this movie that's very personal to him.
Right.
But it just kind of goes and goes and goes. I loved it, but it's
Oh, it goes and
but
goes
it's
and goes.
I just don't know. Based on like what I know about your
Right.
taste in movies, I think that you're gonna not like it. But I loved it. I was in the theater seeing
Yeah.
it, and I don't know. Credits rolled, and I'm just like, this is a great experience.
So I do think that like we've talked. There was that boom in horror. Man, we were doing the show, so
It's been in the last 10 years.
it's been in the last 10 years where it was Ty West and Adam Wingard and
X.
and
I mean,
Pearl. I think
I
are
love
care
both
for
those
those.
movies.
for both of them.
Yeah.
Really?
They're,
Okay,
Do
interesting.
you like them more than this?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
But we're
Oh,
getting,
yeah,
but we're getting a
absolutely.
lot of stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, there was titties in them.
There was. And wieners. All of the above.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
they had
a
to get with
Kid
the bag.
Cudi.
Yeah. Kid Cudi.
hanging.
Throwing his dong out there.
Yeah.
You're right. There are original horror movies that are coming out that aren't, and look, everybody knows how I feel about the Halloween franchise.
Oh.
Those last two aren't good movies.
No.
But
So disappointing.
it is so disappointing.
That first one
Because
was
that
so
first
good.
one was
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
So
good.
I gotta
so
tell you,
good.
they kill a kid in that one too.
Yeah.
He snaps that kid's neck in the car.
But that, like, there's something in horror movies where it leads to that, like, no one's safe when they do that.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not
what I'm
saying I
saying,
want to
yeah.
see it or they have to do it all the time, but when you do,
When you kill a child.
but it just shows you that, like, if there's a killer out there, they're not going
That
like,
was the problem in Schindler's List when they let the girl in the red dress live. I was like, oh well, now I kind of know.
Oh,
what's...
bullshit. This is all. You know what? Mel Gibson was right. Don't.
That took a turn.
Don't.
40
for the-
how do I
for the
I'm
record-
waving because I need to not miss this.
For the record, I believe in the Holocaust. I think it happened.
Kevin, I'm speaking to you from the past. Edit this at 45 to 46 minutes, please.
But were you against it?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're looking at the clock. We're at 46 minutes and we jump to the end at 25
Yeah.
minutes.
What happened to the whole show?
But there is no.
Look,
this
man,
plot,
Joe's going through some.
This
All
plot
right?
is so. Can you go to the Wikipedia, please, Tom? I just read it. We've got 15 left. We talked about the ending 20 minutes ago. I just want to know plot wise, like what it spells out.
I mean, they really. It's a detailed
they?
synopsis. It's like 7 paragraphs.
Yeah, I mean, I did like
Following the events at St. Cartha's Monastery, Sister Irene now serves in a convent in Italy. Maurice works at a boarding school in France where he can't say Frenchie because they're all named that. where he has made friends with a young Irish girl in France. Why? I don't know. Named Sophie, as well as a teacher and her mother, Kate. Irene has a vision of Maurice asking her son to save him, and the next day she is asked by the cardinal to investigate a series of deaths across Europe. While Irene travels to Tarascon, Sister Deborah, a young novice, joins her without permission. Because if we all know there's one thing the Catholic Church does, it allows people to do things without permission. During the train ride, Deborah expresses her difficulty in accepting miracles, like, why are you a nun? Which, such as the real...
I think she got put there, though.
She
at least,
did.
For the
She did.
ride.
Yeah.
She don't want to be a nun.
such
No.
as the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, while Irene explains to her the importance of faith. That's, I mean, there's like, I mean, I can keep going if you want. At Tarascon,
No.
Irene has a vision where she follows Jacques into an alley where he ends up being choked by Valak, the demon who takes the form of a nun.
There you
The
go.
next morning, Deborah tells Irene that she met with Jacques and had given her father Noritz,
That's the guy from the first.
I don't know how to say it,
Yeah.
his rosary. At the same time, in the boarding school, Sophie is bullied by her classmates and locked up in an abandoned chapel of the school where no one is allowed to enter. The bullies tell her to look at the window with a goat on the mosaic and claim that if she looks away, the devil will appear to haunt her.
Okay,
Where'd that goat
hold on.
thing go?
Thank you.
Where did that goat thing go?
I had to step out
Right?
and take a phone call.
No, you never explain. You never see it
And
again.
then I came back and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, what?
Goat demon's here. Goat demon gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
They did stab that kid.
And come and goat.
Okay, that's right. Like I thought that one girl was gonna die, like the head mean girl.
Yeah.
When she sticks her head into the headmistress's office and like she grabs
Yeah.
her, I was like, that kid's head's coming off. And then she gets stabbed through the door by the goat thing.
Yeah.
So I think Blumhouse. This isn't Blumhouse, though, is it? I don't remember
hope
seeing.
not.
I don't remember seeing the logo.
No, I don't believe so.
I think that whoever owns this franchise is just going to milk it. You know,
Certainly.
it got to the point where in those movies they would introduce a demon. You're like, well, there's your spinoff. There's your
right.
next. There's your next spin.
They set 'em up, yeah.
You know, and I don't know. Without James Wan and Gary Doberman to a degree.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got you can't just hand these off because
They need a Feige, a James Gunn. They need someone to
stop doing it.
Well, but okay, that's off the table because
Yeah,
these
that's true.
movies they cost 10 or 20 million. I'll look it up.
yeah,
but
they make
they make 60.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Like
right.
they're not going to stop making them, but if they want to keep making them, because eventually, as we know, the they just start making less and less, and eventually
Yeah.
then you stop, and then you bring back Saw
Reboot
10.
it.
You know what I mean? Like,
Which I saw a trailer for that, and I didn't even realize that was getting made.
this has
Saw 10.
this has 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, so that at least
Okay.
tells you.
Like, that seems fair.
You know, but yeah,
Made $13 million on opening day. So
right, which is why they're going to keep making them. But they'll eventually, the next one will make 10 because people are like, the one wasn't very.
It'll be
so,
straight to Paramount.
So
Plus
why
or whatever.
not? Why not get your act together? Why not bring someone in that can tie this all together, make some really good choices to how the universe pulls in things? You know, make her a young Warren. Like, why not get someone that will tie it all together?
Okay, they did. Okay, so it's great. They did that in the first one, right? They tied it back in. They did that in Annabelle, in Annabelle Creation. The beginning of that movie is why the demon is in the doll, right? This these two people break into somebody's house and they murder somebody, and the blood gets on the doll, and now the doll's cursed. In Annabelle Creation, we're introduced to these two sisters who are orphans, who are living in this orphanage. The one sister becomes possessed, and we find out that sister grows up to be like this Manson cult member who is the one who kills goes back. It's like they do this full circle thing where they tie those two in together. Like, cool, we've closed the loop. And then we didn't.
You know what?
Opened another loop.
I think what the problem is like we talk about all this and universes and all this. I think they need to just stop trying to recreate what Marvel's done, because it's really hard to recreate, right? Like that Marvel
impossible.
First 3 phases thing up until the Infinity War and Endgame, like that
I think everything post Endgame has been the issue.
But that's lightning in a bottle. Like they did it.
plus
it was
they
amazing.
had 50 years of stories to draw and to pull
Right,
out
right.
the cream of the crop.
How nice is it now when a movie comes out and it's a good to even decent little movie, and you're just like, okay, and it's done. Like, it doesn't have to tie in. It doesn't have to set up a universe. I know they're trying to, on paper, do all this for the business side of it, but they're making these really lackluster movies, and they're spinning their wheels trying to get them to all connect. And if they don't do it perfectly, you're like, this sucks. And
I really think the only things you can do that with, honestly, are comic book movies. I think that because those universes are already so integrated with each other, you can have a Green Lantern showing up in a Superman movie. You're like, no, that tracks.
And
like, that makes
because
sense.
you have the material to build off of, right?
Yeah.
If there were dozens and dozens of TV shows and comics and books about the Nun, and these movies are based on this, and there's this backlog, and people have established these all tied together, but they're trying to do it on the go. They're trying to make a movie and have all these little Easter eggs planted, and I think that what they're doing is they're working too hard to try to force it in. It's like the square peg in a round hole. It's not going in, and what you're ending up with is all these complaints because the movie doesn't work, where if they just made a spooky movie about a nun, might be kind of fun.
A spooky movie about a nun in a bombed out monastery
with kills,
Well,
with actual kills.
And I think the first one works so well because it is very much a period piece, and I dig like Gothic Eastern European, not Eastern.
The imagery in
European
that, I remember
is
the
so
graveyard
good.
with the mist and like very dark,
the castle,
and spooky.
like all that stuff.
The
is
first
great.
one had a good spooky feel to it. This one I thought just was not scary, and
I think it had moments. I do think it had moments. I think there was 1 or 2 jump scares that did get me, but when it's we've talked about it before, when it's your only gimmick, it gets a little old
because you can see it coming from a mile away every time, where it's like, there's something under that sheet, of course it's going to be a scary jump scare. Oh, there's a nun in that shadow, of course she's going to go teeth. Like it just every single thing they did was projected, where in some of the better movies I think of Smile, with that thing where like there's the car, and then
that's a great call.
That is a jump scare or a scare where it's coming, and you don't
ruin that in the trailer.
That was crazy. But I told you.
Well, they ruined this one's, I think, best jump scare is when the hand comes and grabs the girl's face. And
Oh,
pulls,
yeah.
Like that's a good jump scare, but it's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
But that was
Smile's so good.
But yeah, they can make those scares a little bit unpredictable, to where even if you know they're coming, you don't know exactly how. And sometimes they do the misdirect, but then they do it a different way. And so if I'm going to be scared in the horror movies, I like it when they can be creative, not just show you.
One of the things I do like is it's the Michael Myers 78 gimmick, where Laurie Strode's standing standing in the middle of a doorway, and the doorway is black, and they light up Michael's face, and so it's like he appears out of the darkness. And they do that here a few times, and I think that the design of the nun lends itself really well to like I think they do it in Hereditary too, where you're looking at it and you're like, is there something? Like, I know you're supposed to think there's something there, but I think the makeup and the look of Valak in this one does kind of lend itself to that, where you're looking like in the shadows, and you think you see something, but then it comes from somewhere else. Like, I think those are effective jump scares where they've got you focused here and it comes from over here.
I guess if the nun ever killed anyone, but it just seriously,
she was trying to give everybody a heart attack.
you just know she's scary. Like once it happens 6 times that she just scares
they
people.
just keep going back
Right.
to it.
And then they keep doing it, and you're just like, well, it's going to be scary for a sec. Like, it's going to be a jump scare, and then nothing's going to happen. So, again, I don't know. I think that's my complaint, is just that there's not enough going on. And, again, I'm not saying I need people to just be killed left and right, but follow your rules. Like, the nun's killing people. Okay, now we're in a school full of people. The nun's spooking people.
It is. I was actually thinking of like how these all connected, right? So we know that 1 and 2, The Conjuring 1, 2, and 3 are the Warrens. Like, that's how they're connected, right? Annabelle is the doll from the beginning of Conjuring 1.
And whatever you're into.
Yeah, right. And you get 3 of those. The Curse of La Llorona almost feels like it wasn't going to be a Conjuring movie until they threw in this priest, where we were just like, well, he was in, it's the same priest from that movie? Okay, I guess. And then the nun was in Conjuring 1 and 2, and then she got her spinoffs, not with Warren as a nun, which, again, is just insane that they didn't do anything. And I think they were supposed to do, there's a demon in the second Conjuring called like the Crooked Man, or like Crooked Legged Jack or something. I don't remember what it was. I think
Is that the guy that folds up and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think
Man.
that was supposed to get a spinoff, and that never happened. It was like a nursery rhyme or something, like in Edinburgh, which is where that second one takes place. And they've stopped doing that. So now they've stopped creating new demons to get spinoffs movies.
So now we just have
we
to...
get 3 Annabelle movies. We get 2 nun movies. We get a Curse of La Llorona that had nothing to do with the Conjuring stuff, except for this weird priest that shows up.
So how does this stand? So they all get together at the boarding school, and then she's like, Frenchie, and she's like, Frenchie, you're bad.
Yeah, he's
and
like,
then,
which I liked that, where he doesn't know what's
sure,
going on.
yeah.
I dug that.
He's possessed.
But yes, and then they have a big old fight. They use the blood of Christ, which is the wine, to poison Valak. She blows up. Frenchie seems to be okay. I guess he's got a limp in his
his garden.
Got his garden, and he has he's reunited with Sophie and Sophie's mom. And Taissa Farmiga's like, deuces, and that's how it ends. Like, it just ends with her like looking like Frenchie walks away, and it just ends with her like standing there, and that's how. Then
Well, and how
roll.
long it had been? Because like she comes out and he's growing the tomatoes that presumably she gave him the seeds for, and I'm like, how long were you hanging around after this?
Well, we see him plant.
So you could
that's
have this
true.
moment.
That's a good point, because they are fully ripe tomatoes. And then we get the end credits, the mid credit sequence where, that was the thing, is there's a scene when when Sophie opens a door and it looks down a hallway, and the nun is at the end of the hallway, and in my head I was like, that's the Warrens' house. Like, are we doing time jumps? Like, it looks like the same wallpaper that we see in the Warrens' house when we go there in these movies.
They were just filming there to save money.
They were, yeah. Like, hey, man, we got the set. Can we just film here? And then I had to think about those other movies. I was like, did we see, like, this kid show up? Like, poor Sophie from 1958 shows up in the Warrens' house, which, knowing Ed Warren, he would love it.
We talked about this on Patreon when Joe, Matt, and I were talking about the MCU, and I think the other thing too with all these shared universes is it's starting to feel like homework to watch a movie.
Yeah,
That
I
is
just
not-
want to watch
these-
a
these
horror
especially.
movie.
These especially.
I don't care enough about the mythology of the demons and stuff, and haven't seen them all. And we talk about people that come into the MCU and haven't seen 30 movies. Where do you start?
Right.
But you watch these movies and you're like, yeah, I want to go see a horror movie. It's Friday night. Let's get scared.
Right.
And then you're
Getting
like,
close to spooky
where
season.
who are they? Is she the one? That's the demon that the person. And who's
Why
that
does
priest?
why does that
And what
one? Why does that one look like the gal from The Conjuring, but it's not the same person?
And I'm just like, it's not that you can't make sequels, but when you do the shared universe and they all tie together, and you ask, well, are they in their hallway? And is that
Right?
And it's like, I don't know, man.
I don't know. I just wanna be
and I don't
scared.
care to know. And I don't like. No offense, I just don't care to know.
Again, 1 and 2 is where it's at.
Yeah.
Like that's the bread and butter.
Yeah.
After that, at your own risk. Annabelle Creation is the good one.
Okay, Annabelle
Yeah.
Creation.
That's the second.
Okay.
The second one, was better than the other two, but they're still the only thing on any of these that I would actually recommend are Conjuring 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys have told me that for a while.
We
and
did
I
The Conjuring. We covered it.
No, we didn't. Because
Did I actually go see that on my own?
because something else big opened that week, and I happened to see The Conjuring as well because I was like, guys, we should circle back around and do The Conjuring. It was really good.
I remember doing a
and
double
nobody
feature that
wanted
day.
to. And then I don't think you had seen it yet for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Because I was pushing for it, and I was like, this is really good.
Okay.
But then we did do The Conjuring too. Okay. So
As well.
yes. So anyway,
Yeah.
there's
There it is.
I guess there's all that. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, and on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at KevinRBrackett and subscribe to Circle of Wizards for all your video game talk
Oh, yeah.
with Matt F. Bosler himself, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is Tom. You can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our YouTube where you can watch all of these episodes. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Vince orders the death of Dolores.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you.